250th anniversary of the country, July 4th. But that's not our celebration. We were slaves then. And they celebrate signing the Declaration of Independence, 1776. We were not even emancipated until 1863. So I don't know what everybody getting ready for a celebration. You know, that it's...
You know why, Al Sharpton? You know why? Because it is no longer 1863. It is no longer 1963. We are in 2026. I detest anyone who constantly tries to make Black people reject being an American, celebrating being an American. Yes, our country has a history of participating in slavery. Yes, our country has a history of disenfranchisement. And our ancestors fought extremely hard to be where we are today in 2026. So why would I denounce and reject the country that my ancestors fought so hard for us to be part of? It is extremely clear that people like Al Sharpton wants the Black community to hate this country. You can love this country and still be critical of it. I believe it was James Baldwin who said that because I love my country is the reason why I perpetually criticize it. You can still be part of American history. You are American history. You do not have to separate yourself from these celebrations. And if you continue to listen to people like Al Sharpton, you will be miserable and oppressed for the rest of your life.
Seems crazy for me to have on the birthday hat at your birthday party. That ain't my party.
No, he's a putz. Let's do that. He's an asshat and a putz. He's an old asshat and a putz. Here's the thing. His grift depends heavily on keeping Black people in a slaved mentality. Mm-hmm. His entire shill requires Black people to have never moved past the indignity of slavery. The celebration that we're having for America, A250 celebration, is not a celebration of just white America. It is a celebration of all America. Because although, yes, we started off a little raggedy in this country, make no mistake, American slavery was absolutely horrific. But look how far we've come. Look how far we've come. And he can't find it in his little raggedy ass heart to celebrate something that he's right. He shouldn't come to somebody's birthday party and celebrate somebody else, because it is incredibly selfish of him for it only to be about him with his wealthy ass. He sits on these American TVs and use that First Amendment right to flap that trap any old way he wants to, but can't stand up and cheer for the very document that gives him the right to do that? Really? Really? I guess he's still, boycotting Target. I guess that's not where he's going to be. They're not going to be nowhere near no Targets, and probably nowhere in Philadelphia. The entire city is going to be electric with parties on the 4th of July. Every place in this nation is going to celebrate not one little piece of American history, but how far we've come as a nation. And if he can't see that, then he's just not looking. Again, he's still grifting. But I refuse to be a slave for Al Sharpton. Me and my family have since moved on from the early 1800s, bro. You should come and join us. It's 2026 now.
I am an independent journalist and mother from Memphis, Tennessee. I walked away from the Democratic Party after I realized our values no longer aligned once I was fired from an all-Black news publication here that I worked for almost 10 years. President Trump announced that he was bringing the National Guard to Memphis. It was my job and duty to cover those stories. And of course, it's always by journalistic standards, to always tell the truth, no matter from what sides. If you didn't like it, if you liked it, it was my job to be able to cover that, and that's what I did. But it wasn't until I made a video. And this video was made on my own time, and it was from a mother experience, because I live in these communities where it was going to be affected and be impacted. And I realized this one particular day when I'm actually walking out to my mailbox, and it was extremely quiet, which was a normal thing in my neighborhood, because I was used to gunshots and other things happening around the neighborhood. For once, it was actually quiet and I could hear the birds sing. So I just made a video about that, just sharing my experience and thanking Trump. The video literally blew up overnight. I wasn't prepared for it, but it did. And a lot of people had a lot of things to say about it. It was like instantly the Black community turned on me because I thanked Trump for it. And not only that, the publication that I worked for was totally against what I said, all because I thanked Trump in the video. From that point going forward, they wanted me to take the videos down. They gave me an ultimatum, but ultimately I wasn't given that chance because by the following day, everything that I was assigned with was taken away. And I was told pretty much, bye. But from that point going forward, it was my job and duty to just make people aware that the media lies, because they do. Why should I be fired for actually telling the truth and showing that the president actually did make a difference in my neighborhood? I then started to do my research and look further and further into the truth when you're talking about President Trump and wanting to know more about the things that he's done. And I realized from there that he's actually done some great actionable things for America. And I never really understood the hate. The more I read, the more I actually started to like him. And really, I'm actually thankful for the Democratic Party, for them showing their true selves, because now I was able to walk away from that plantation and have a mind of my own and think for myself. And it's been one of the best decisions I could have ever made.
In fact, I'm thinking Saturday when I do my address to the convention, they're calling for something on July 4th, like Frederick Douglass did. Why should we be celebrating that? We may need to do our own rally in Philly or somewhere that day, because that's not our background. They're going to say.
He mentioned Frederick Douglass, of course, his famous essay, What to the Slave is the 4th of July, okay? Mm-hmm. Many people have misapplied, misinterpreted, if you will, what Frederick Douglass was saying. Yes, he gave a critique of slavery, of the Constitution, or being the misapplication of the Constitution at that time when he wrote it. But his conclusion was basically an encouragement and urging that every American, founders, congressmen, whomever, we need to take the Constitution at its word. And you will find no pro-slavery documentation, if you will, in the Constitution. So he gave a criticism. He gave a critique. He gave a rightful spanking, if you will, because the Constitution was not upheld with slavery. All that said, he did not disdain America. He did not disdain his country. Hell, he went on to hobnob with Abraham Lincoln. Okay, come on, Al Sharpton, you are worth more than $1 million according to most reports, and yet you're sitting here telling Black Americans, truth be told, you were never a slave.
Thank you.
Neither was none of us on it. We were never slaves. I wasn't. Yes, some of my ancestors were, however far down the line they were, but I was never a slave. I thank God that I was not, and that they endured such horrendous treatment. But here we are, like Frederick Douglass. Al Sharpton needs to take that half greasy perm, whatever he did, just cut his hair off, because I'm sick of seeing half perm and half bald. Just cut his hair off, and stop with this claptrap. Just cut it out, because that's all it is. It does nothing. It's only elevating himself. It's only keeping his grift, if you will, going. And that woman sitting there, what did she have on, a pastor's robe?
No, it was just
on a pantsuit.
I just she had on a pastor's robe and
no, she had on some type of pantsuit, but she looked like some big
with
turd.
a blouse.
Yeah. These people make me sick. I am so sick of these roaches in the Democrat Party, and he's King Cockroach. That's what he is. He goes around here grifting, and let's talk about what he's saying, because so he's saying we shouldn't take part because we, as Black Americans, we weren't part of this of this idea of America. We were slaves and all this type of stuff. But he chooses to take part in everything white in this United States. He lives around white people. He works for the white man on MSNBC. All right. He takes that white man's check. He's perming his hair to look like a white man. All right. So they're doing this to push a grift on people that fall for it. And I hope Black folks are not falling for this. Our ancestors, y'all like to talk about the ancestors, they would be rolling over in their
Yes, they
grave
would.
if they heard how these people talk about them. Christmas addicts, first to die in the American Revolution. You know, all the Black soldiers who fought for independence, you know, and now we can all stand up there as homeowners, as educated Black people in Black institutions and white institutions for generations, can say that we can celebrate the founding of this United States of America. And he's sitting there trying to other us. Go back to the hole you came out of, you cockroach. He makes me sick. I can't stand people like him. Evie, I talked to you about this. I can't stand people. They just want us to continue to be enslaved in our minds. This is what they want. And sadly, it's a lot of people that are. The chains are just in the mentality, or the mental state is in chains.
Well, those chains come with a check. For most of them, those chains come with a check. Right. You know, here's the thing. Being free, if you've never known freedom, can be scary. So I give people a little bit of grace. I mean, a smidge of grace, right? Because going from not having to worry about anything Uncle Sam's going to provide for you to getting out here and earning it can be devastating. So why not have these so-called civil rights leaders actually help make that transition? Do you want to know why? Because when people are free, they don't need you. They don't need you sing-songing, walking with your pimp, your limp. They don't need your rally cries and your old Negro spirituals. They no longer need that because they're standing under God's covenant. I hate to bring religion into this, but he professes himself to be some sort of reverend. I don't want to be behind him in line to see St. Peter. I tell you that. No. He's going to be there for a long, long time. I don't want to be around him when the lightning bolt comes for that ass. The thing that makes me craziest is he knows damn well what he's doing. He knows full well that if he rings that bell, that there's a certain subculture within our community that's going to snap to and do whatever he do, whatever he says to do. And that's what's got to change in this culture. That's what's got to change. People have to start thinking for themselves. He wants you to boycott the place where you work. So now you're out of a job, but his limo's picking him up in 10 minutes. Absolutely. He's going back to the minivan.
Has he ever apologized to Tawana Brawley? Has he ever apologized to her? I mean, the young girl, I think she's come out a number of times and felt bad for what happened. But has he come out to apologize how he used her? A young girl, he had feces put on that girl. And made her, I think, in a dumpster, wherever they found her, and of course lied on the cop. But has he ever apologized to her? Truth be told, Black people, more so than I'm going to say maybe white people ever did, keep Black people enslaved, certainly mentally.
Yeah,
it just breaks my heart. The people who listen to him as if he's some sort of authority, they don't see the dichotomy of this man, that he wants you to keep a slave mindset while he's living comfortable in 2026. It's remarkable.
And the thing that really it's really sad. It breaks my heart for people to listen to people like him and believe them, because folks, when we disengage, then other folks define our narratives. You know, this 250th anniversary, it's a big moment. It's a cultural moment. It's a political moment. Okay. And if you don't show up for America's story, then don't be surprised when your chapter gets erased. We are patriots. This is what I love. You know, I've told this story before. We go around some of our white friends, and you know, these are conservatives, and you know, most Black people vote Democrat. And so we have one friend when we go around them, and when we, you know, he's already around some of his other friends, and we'll come and he'll say, wait a minute, y'all. He was like, first, I've got to say, these people are patriots. And he's saying with so much pride, I mean, it's like you're in a club, you know, because
Mhm.
most people would see us and they think we're Democrats, you know, and they think, oh, I gotta start talk a little way. And when they say that, then everything, oh yeah, well, we should talk about this and talk about that. Folks, this is what we have to reclaim our patriotism because it's power. You know, separate Black identity from American identity that's been pushed on us, that is a false narrative. All right. Black Americans have been among the most patriotic in this country. Buffalo Soldiers, World War II vets. Claim this. This is part of our history. We shouldn't let them other us. This is our country too. Our parents, we're foundational Black Americans. It's just sad the way they do this. It really is. It's very frustrating and very infuriating, you know.
Yeah,
It's just sad. It really is sad because, again, you know, the story of our nation is not of one race, one community over another. The story of our nation is us together. We have come a very long way. And from that dark moment in our history, we've grown so great, so big, so strong that we've impacted the entire world. Do you know that? We've impacted the entire world. And it is short-sighted for him as a quote unquote civil rights leader to ask people to carve themselves out of the history that their families have earned.
Right.
Our families have earned our place here in this nation. We have come up together, good, bad, or indifferent. The story of America is the story of togetherness, not of division. It is not.
Nope.
We are one country, one nation under God. We meant that. One nation.
Yeah. Sound off in the chat. Let us know what you all think about Al Sharpton's comments. We would love to hear what you guys think. We have some super chat.